All right, we are speaking with Theresa today, and she recently moved to Florida. So yeah, I just want to kind of ask you some questions. If you don't mind, maybe starting off, just tell us a little bit about you and when you came here and from where and all that good stuff.
Okay, so I'm Theresa. My husband Jamie and I moved down here with our son Cameron and our 2 dogs. We actually decided to do a new build, so we started the process way back in I want to say summer of 2020, when we could finally travel back.
I was quarantining when I first talked to you, I think, or right after that.
Yeah, it was kind of close. And then I remember, the reason I remember is because we signed contracts in September of 2020. Mm-hmm. And then we actually officially moved in August 2021. So it was quite the process. We came all the way from Morgantown, West Virginia to move to Auburndale, which I love it here. So
yeah, I agree. It's beautiful. It's becoming more on the radar, I think, but Auburndale is in Polk County, Florida, not too far from Disney at all. You are right next to, not next to I-4 in a way where you can hear it, but right off the interstate where it's nice and handy. So yeah,
we did find a very ideal neighborhood. My parents already lived here in Auburndale, and so then we were kind of looking for somewhere with newer construction, but not cookie cutter. We got lucky because with the way everything was going with the market, a lot of the developments we were looking at had very 1, 2, 3 floor plans. When we got in, we didn't have a ton of floor plans, but we were able to pick certain features of our home, like the exterior color, the door, and things like that. And not too long after we signed contracts, they started going more towards a build them as fast as we can build them, and then it was a bidding war. So we really got in at a good time.
You kind of got in right before everything exploded, really. It was a good time. So you signed your contract. Did you come down here and see the house as it was being built? Did you just kind of show up and it was done?
We did a little bit. I did more than my husband because, like I said, my family lives down here. And I'm a travel agent, so I'm here a lot for Disney before I moved here. So I was probably down every 3-ish months, and we would kind of drive by the lot and see what was going on. Or I'd send my mom to take a little video and see where we were at. And for a long time, it felt like nothing was happening. You get that whole oh my gosh, are they ever gonna start building? And then it just would go in waves. All of a sudden it'd be like, oh, all the cinder blocks up and everything's, going. So the only thing that was really difficult, and I'm sure a lot of people have this with new builds, is just even one thing being delayed can delay your entire house. So in our case, we had planned to move almost immediately after our daughter graduated. She still wanted to stay up in West Virginia. So we just went for it. We sold our house, we moved out. She graduated high school, we moved out the next weekend, and we came down here and ended up having to be in Airbnbs for almost all June, July, and August because our cabinets weren't here. Yep. And there was nothing we could do. We were just kind of waiting on cabinets. Thankfully, as soon as they arrived, they just got right to finishing the house, and we were able to get in. So it was good. Once we were in, we were happy.
I think having that plan B with the Airbnbs was it became more and more evident as you listed your house up north that was going to be the reality.
Well, and I think, again, we were so fortunate to have family because of the dogs. Airbnbs are so hard to rent with dogs, and we have bigger dogs. So my parents being able to say, hey, we've got the dogs. I mean, they were okay with us staying too, but we both work from home, my husband and I. So we're like, yeah, we need an Airbnb because we almost need an office. We need somewhere that can be quiet for us to get our work done. And so it's kind of a little mini vacation from the dogs for the summer.
Yeah, it's not always a bad thing. So you got here, you love it. Were there any surprises once you got in the house with the new build? Were you pleased you did a new build?
I really don't think there were any surprises. I mean, we had our warranty. I think there was maybe a couple of things we had to just contact them about, but nothing, we didn't have anything major, which was nice. And you actually had set us up with a handyman who was amazing because they did not let us pick wall colors. So it was very okay, there is some color going on these walls. I cannot have eggshell white in this entire house. So luckily for us, I think we had maybe been in 2 or 3 weeks or less than a month, and he was here and he was painting walls for us. I also had always wanted to be a little more unique in like the furniture that we picked. So I found that Sister's Juntique and bought a lot of secondhand stuff. The only thing that really came with us were our beds, our TVs, and our couch. I mean, the rest of it, we just said, you know what, this is cross-state move. It's a lot of money. So what we actually did was we got U-Haul does like these like U-boxes. I will say, word of the wise for anybody watching this, if you want to use them, they're not very tall. They're only 7 feet tall. So really think about what is going to fit in there. To us, 7 feet sounded really tall until I realized my farmhouse table was 8 feet long. So there was no way. It was 6 by 7, so 6 width and 7 tall. So it was like, there is no way to get this in there. So at the last minute, I had to like sell my dining room table and chairs off at a very cheap price because it just wasn't going to fit in there. And we did end up, thankfully we overbooked them. So that was another thing they told us to do. They said, we would prefer you book like 3 or 4 and then not need, the 3rd or 4th one than to book 2 and say we need 3, we need 4. So we booked 4 and ended up needing 4. But it was really nice to be able to kind of start fresh. And our house is also a lot smaller here by design because we felt like this is going to be our forever home, into retirement. So we went from 3,600 square feet to 2,300. So that was also intentional in getting rid of a lot of the furniture because we're like, this could all be oversized for the rooms that we have down there. Like, we don't know yet. So yeah, that really helped us. Not saying everybody wants to sell off all their belongings, but that really did help us.
I think selling some is a good idea. And yeah, I mean, you're just in a different space down here. And yeah. Thank you for mentioning that because we get a lot of questions about what moving company or what did people use to move with. So thank you for being specific on that.
Yeah, and I will say like cost-wise now, I mean, this was a couple of years ago. I mean, it was still, I want to say around $6,000. I mean, it's just not cheap to move across that many states. And we also, because of the delay, we had to keep our stuff in storage for a little bit. But what I really liked about U-Haul was that really wasn't a problem because they were able to put it in air-conditioned warehouse. And they said, really, you just tell us, just try to give us a week's notice and we'll have it, at your door. So I thought that worked out really well.
That is really nice because I think that is a big problem with pods here. It's so darn hot if they're just sitting in a driveway or they're sitting. Can you imagine that just sitting for 3 months while your house is getting built? It's too hot. Yeah, too hot. So I thought of this question since we've been sitting out here, but I didn't ask if you wouldn't mind getting into this.
Okay.
The pool situation.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, can I show them your pool real quickly? It is
pool.
stunningly beautiful. It is huge and it is gorgeous. But you went through kind of went through hell getting it built in a way, but
well, I mean, it just was not once we had our company. I think it was more finding a company. Because we had gone with Olympus initially, and Olympus is a big class action lawsuit thing going on. You can look it up if you want to look into it. I think what was really fortunate for us was that we had only put our deposit in at that point. I had actually really pushed them hard on using a credit card for our deposit, which is weird because normally I am kind of a, hey, I'll write a check person, but I'm glad I didn't because I was able to work with my credit card company and prove that no services had been rendered. And so they went ahead and said that they wanted a deposit back. Now they said, oh, it'll take up to 60 days. Within 2 days, they're like, they didn't dispute it. They refunded your money. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I used the credit card so we wouldn't be out any money because there's definitely a lot of people that had gotten further in the process where they had a hole in their ground already and, a lot more money invested and they're still working through that. So then it was just more or less being antsy about how to find another company because that was a weird and, you know, difficult situation to be like, okay, we trusted somebody that really wasn't trustworthy, but they seemed like they should have been. Luckily for us, Jamie has a cousin who has had a friend who just built a pool, and we're like, can you just ask him? Because we're just trying to get, you know, my mom had also recommended her guy that built their pool, but he was just so busy. And again, it was, I don't know where they're at now with pool building, but at that time it was like, yeah, we'll come build your pool in a year. I mean, no joke, because it was just so busy. But we found a company called Bobco Construction. They mostly do like home builds, but they'll take on a certain number of pool projects a year. And we just got in at the right time where they said, hey, if you put the deposit in, we'll put you on the schedule. And so then it was easy from there. I mean, they were great to work with. So I think we put in, it was kind of scary. The one thing that was a little scary was putting in the deposit for the pool without officially being in the house yet. So I think we put in the deposit the first week of August. And then permits, just so anybody knows, permits take forever. We didn't know that we had permits till they came the second week of January and just started digging up our yard. So that was a fun phone call. Hey, we just want to make sure it's you guys digging up our yard. They're like, oh yeah, we thought we told you we got permits. So
it's a valid question.
yeah, but once we started, it really, in my opinion, was great because we were swimming by 4th of July weekend.
Awesome.
And so I think for a pool of this size, and we also had, we have a hot tub as well. That's really not a bad length of time for a build.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah, and the tile, to get all the tile in and stuff too.
We have clients that are on wait lists for 12 to 18 months. So I think you guys just, although your first round was horrible, and I still share that with clients all the time, put it on your credit card. I'm like, literally that little nugget is going to stick with me forever because I'm sorry it had to happen to you, but it's brilliant to get that, to be able to dispute that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know what, like, my card company was like, hey, they could say no, and then it's kind of a you said, they said, and it might not work out, but we just got really lucky. I think they were so far in debt with so many people already, they just didn't even bother to dispute it. They were like, okay, just charge it back. So we got lucky.
Yes, I know. That was such a relief when I got that phone call and you're like, we got it back.
Yeah, and so this is like, I mean, this is kind of what makes it for us as the pool. Our dogs love to swim. We have a golden doodle and a labradoodle, so they're swim bugs. They want to be in the pool every day that they can. Winter was very long for them. Yeah. Because when the ground, you know, a lot of times people just assume you can swim all year round. And we do have a heated pool, but it takes a lot to heat it if the ground is really cold. I mean, and there were times when it would get into the 40s at night. So then you'd come out and the pool temperature would be like, you know, 60 degrees. Yeah. It's going to take a really long time to heat. So so they just we had to find other things to occupy their attention, but they always want to swim.
They're so cute. I love that. So anything I missed, any parting knowledge that you would like to share with anyone moving to Florida? I think it's safe to say you don't regret the move. But anything that I didn't ask you that you would have liked to know when you made the move, or wish you would have known, or something you've been surprised by in Florida, just any words of wisdom would be helpful.
Well, I think it just depends on where you're moving. Just definitely do your research because it's very expensive to live in Florida. So you really want to make sure that you budget here. Yeah. I mean, we just, there are sometimes we get the bill. I will say it sounds silly, but we wanted a bigger lot. And now we're like, oh my gosh, how much money we spend to keep grass alive. Yeah. Coming from a state where you don't really have to keep your grass green all year long, it's really more like 6 months out of the year. You're like, okay, we got, you know, lawn service all year round, you know, and then you sometimes need treatments to keep it, and then all of the water you need for that was just one for me. I mean, now we've been here, like I said, 1.5 years or more, so it's we've gotten used to it, but shocking at first to see the sprinkler bill because I just had never had a sprinkler system before. I didn't realize that it would, you know, be one of those things.
Anything else? Are you all good?
No, I think that's about
That's it. Well, thank you. Do we want to do a shameless plug for your travel agency?
Oh.
Because you're an amazing travel agent as well, and Disney and
Sure.
Universal expert.
Yeah, so I own a travel agency. It's called Inspire More Travel. So anybody that wants to book a vacation can find us, and we'll be happy to help.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Theresa.
You're welcome.